What's up, y'all? I'm Shooty. It's in all caps, SHOOTY. Artist down in South Florida. I'm down in Lauderdale right now and making it happen. Shout out, respect if I for having me. Let's have a great conversation. I was born in Washington, D.C., and I grew up in Maryland, so I rep the DMV. Growing up, it was interesting. I was in the house, me, my mom, my dad, and my brother, and my dad was usually the one at work. My mom and would stay at home with me and my brother. There's a lot of, I'll just put it this way, the way I like to put it now, there's a lot of like mental issues going on in the house, and so we dealt with a lot growing up, and a lot of trials and tribulations. But one thing that I fell in love with, or two things I should say, were basketball and music. So if I wasn't at the basketball court playing ball, I was in my room listening to music, and that was honestly my life. I didn't do a lot of partying. I had a lot of friends, but you know, like in the moment, like at school games or whatever. But back home, I'm just chilling, you know, behind the scenes, doing my own thing. And that was life growing up. Honestly, 10 different schools. Like I could never really find my niche. Like I got bullied a lot when I was younger, and just trying to figuring things out and just bouncing from place to place. But throughout it all, you know, learning a lot, and now I'm trying to figure out how to put it all in my music and stuff like that. So that's kind of how I look at my upbringing. Like those are my two things: basketball and hip hop, and everything else is kind of molded around that for me, honestly. You know, the two big guys, of course, are Biggie and Tupac, like in the game. And for me, I just latched on to Biggie, partially probably being from around, you know, the New York area. Of course, Maryland, not New York, but close. And so that's the vibe you get. I grew up on that kind of boom bap, like that saying something like on the mic kind of music, storytelling, the presence like Biggie had. Like for me, that's what I got into this thing for, is the story of it all, and the saying stuff about your life and what you've been through and things like that, and expressing that. So Biggie was definitely my first memory of someone that I like latched onto and listened to a lot. So him growing up for sure, and then just in general, Mac Miller. Those would be my two guys as far as influences. Mac Miller was, he means so much to me. And you know, growing up in high school, I didn't smoke in high school. I didn't smoke till I was in college. But in high school, like if you didn't smoke and listen to Mac, like what were you doing? That was kind of like the vibe. And for me, I was just not into drugs at all at the time. Even though at this point I would say weed is not a drug, but that's another conversation. That was the thing. Like if you weren't like smoking and chilling, listening to Mac, what were you doing? So I wasn't smoking, but I was still listening to Mac, and I was just loving the authenticity of it all, and being yourself and doing what you want to do in this world, and not conforming to somebody else. Just kick back and smoke and talk your shit, you know. So like those would be the two influences that I come to mind immediately. When Mac passed away, I of course I didn't believe it, right? Like I was just shocked and just like no, rereading the article multiple times. And I remember going into work that night with my first job, Uncle Julio's, this place in Maryland, serving job. I remember going into work and be like, yo, did you guys hear the news? Did you guys hear the news? And everyone's like, what are you talking about? And of course, a couple people knew what I was talking about, but for the majority, it was still very fresh and nobody really knew. And it was like, fucking Mac passed. Like, that's like my guy. And it really did suck, man. Like, it really did bother me. But, you know, what was cool is that night, I ended up writing a song. I have it recorded. We shot a music video for it a while ago, and it never came together fully. It never got edited. Oh well. Still could do it one day. I shot a freestyle, or I wrote a freestyle, I should say, to the Diablo beat that he did. The rap Diablo, Macho When I Drop Flows, and I did my own spin on that exact same night, because I told myself, I was like, I got to give Mac a tribute. So I wrote that on the night that he died. I remember writing that on my dad's deck. Like Mac, it was terrible, man. And to this day, you know, I miss that authenticity, that guy that, you know, all the rappers talk about it, how he was just real, he was just who he was, and you know, he's just a good guy, and not on no beef shit or nothing, you know. Like we need more of that in this world, and I hope that kind of stuff comes back around. So yeah. Along that journey of 10 different schools, I was at a school called Oak Hill in high school. It was a boarding school. Now they're known nationally for being a big basketball school. So like where like Rondo went, KD went, Carmelo Anthony, all those dudes. So in mind, I already had that idea that I'd be in an environment where it was big time basketball. I got to like enjoy that. Because basically what happened was in high school, freshman year, I just kind of was fucking up. I was a class clown, and my parents were on the brink of divorce, so they wanted to get me out of the house, and so that's why I went to Oak Hill for the basketball and just a different scenery, of course. And while I was there, I never thought this would be the case, right? But while I was there was a kid named Miles from Detroit, and he made music, and he had his own setup in his room, in his dorm room, and I thought it was so fucking cool. Like, I would go in there and I just knew rap about random stuff, and I loved it, and I was like, I could try this. Like, I'm so involved in the culture with basketball and hip hop, they're intertwined for me. So I've been around it my whole life. I could just do it myself. Why not? This is my example. And I actually, speaking of first recordings, I recorded a freestyle to the Pass the Dutchie beat off the Young Money album, and I'll never forget that. And I recorded that freestyle. I thought it was so cool, and people liked it. I rap about things I don't rap about now, of course, like inauthentic things like the hoes and the cars when I'm just a fucking high school kid. But just that feeling of rapping something was so cool. And then I was like, okay, I could try this. And then my next school I went to, Georgetown Prep, that really saved my life. Shout out Prep. There was a kid there named Michael Duckworth, and we go by Duck. And me and Duck just, I don't know, man, we just rap all the time. And then I just kind of fell in love with it. And then it's just been developing from there. I knew at some point I wanted to move out of Maryland. Maryland's like a great state, got a lot of great nature and really cool people up there. But at the end of the day, it was getting stale for me, and I knew I wanted to get out of there at some point. Especially for music, I felt as though I wanted to go somewhere where more of a hotbed for music, I guess. So whether it was like Miami or LA or something along those lines. And I decided, like, let's try to go maybe more Miami. So I had Florida in mind. And during COVID, some really unfortunate stuff happened. My former stepfather, who, thank God he's out of my life, he's a piece of shit, whatever, not gonna get into that. He was really like putting my mom in a bad spot at a certain point in time in the COVID era, and I decided to move down to help her out and to help her life with what she was going through. So that got me to Florida, and it kind of worked out that way. I was working 3 jobs for 6 months straight, just grinding it out. Both of us were just working, staying away from, home life and partial to stay away from the reality of what was going on and deep, dark stuff that was going on. And we were fighting through it, all the court dates and all these different things. And, long story short, after that 6 months, I was like, okay, I earned the money. I want to get myself down more towards Miami. And at the time, I had a friend of mine who was traveling around Florida a lot, and we're no longer friends anymore. He spiraled out and became like a big alcoholic and whatever. And, but at the time, we were like really tight, and we're like, okay, let's get a place together. So I told him, free range, man, like wherever you want to go down in Florida, let's do South Florida. So he got us to West Palm Beach. He was like, fuck it, let's live downtown West Palm Beach. So that's where I got in the Palm Beach community, and that's where this whole thing started with South Florida. And then after 2 years in Palm Beach, I decided to take my butt to Lauderdale because it's more, I don't know. I don't want to say it's more crowded. There's more people, and I'm curious. I guess that's what I'll phrase it. I'm curious to see what kind of opportunities I'm going to have in Lauderdale, especially with season coming up. So that's how I got here. When I first got down to West Palm, I was jumping around doing little open mics here and there. And I ended up doing a showcase show. I forget what the name of it was. I think it was run by this guy named ID. Shout out ID Unforgettable on Instagram. He was a big help in the community for a while, and he was running these showcases where you hit him up and you could, pay to get tickets, and then you sell your tickets. So it was a cool way of exposure for the artist, whatever. Like into being a real artist with the business. So anyways, I did one of these shows, and I remember doing the show, and I had my little crowd from my restaurant that I work at. Shout out Camino. Anyway, so I had my little crowd, and we were all vibing out, and I guess I really, really killed it. And the guy running it, not ID, but the guy, the DJing it was DJ Knightley, and he runs Stars International Records in downtown West Palm. And he called me a couple of days later and was like, yo, like, I want to work with you. That was sick. I was super impressed. So that's how we linked up, and I told him, I said, I'm skeptical because I've dealt with some weird people in this game. And he was like, that's okay. Like, I'll give you however long you need to, think about it or whatever. And then we linked up a few times, made a couple cool records, and then I ended up signing to him. And that's where I was for about a year, and I'm no longer there anymore. So that's how that all started, though. Well, it definitely showed me that I can do a lot of things on my own that I once thought I couldn't, I guess is the best way to put that. My music output will be greater. It kind of, you know, with a label, of course, they got to focus on more than one artist. So I'm not able to just put out my stuff, you know, nonstop. So I'll be able to do that more. And I feel like I learned a lot. I'm thankful for the experience and thankful to meet the people that I met. And thankful to do the things that we did, and all the producers and the artists, and the, you know, learning about the game and the business side of things, and yada yada yada. It's definitely gave me a lot of knowledge and you know, just motivation. That's the word, knowledge and motivation for what's to come. Because now I want to do it, you know, act more smart and really make things happen on my own, and create my own like base and create my own brand and all these things like that. You know, like it was cool to do the label. It was cool, but if I'm gonna do that again, I gotta be in a different place in my career. That's the best way to put it. So I'm very excited for what's to come. A few different projects going on. Producer in Paris at the moment. We're working on a record. I got a producer in Toronto. We're working on a record. When I say a record, in these cases, I mean like an EP. So I have 2 of those EPs going. And I have other music that I've been making with other different producers locally. So I've got some things that I've been working on for sure. And it's just a matter of getting a lot of things done and planning out how I want to attack for the future. Because, you know, with the new way the game is rolling, with all this content stuff and stuff you got to do, it's been a big adjustment for me. You know, I can no longer just only focus on the artistry and perfecting the craft. Like, you got to also be like a content machine. And so ultimately the goal, there's a few goals. One being having music be at the forefront of what I do. I don't have to work another job. That's how I make my money. That's how I do it. I live off my music. That's the ultimate goal, because I love it so much and I'll forever love it, and it's a part of me and it'll never leave me. And it's something that, you know, I would like to be what I do. That's how I make my money. That's what I do. That's my entire job. And of course, also with that too, there's the idea that I want to make a difference in this world, you know, because with my music is very authentic, and I'm hoping that people can latch on to that and take a part of my story and relate to it, and not have it just be the blanket statement of rap where I'm rapping about, you know, the all the stuff about the money and the cars and the girls and all that. That stuff's all cool and stuff, but I want to tell the real story, and I want that real story to be something that people can latch on to and help make a difference in their lives, you know, because music took me out of a hole, so I'm hoping that my music can help take other people out of a hole too. You know, once they realize the power of this thing, it's a very, very powerful thing. All you gotta do is put headphones on or put a speaker on, and your whole life could change. And so, you know, I want to be a part of that. I want to make people's lives better, and I want to give people someone to listen to. And so those are the 2 main reasons I would say, and where I see myself with the music. I just, you know, for me, it's been a matter of never quit, right? Like, we all go through ups and downs, and this past year was one of the hardest years of my life for many reasons. So, you know, just pushing through that, and the grass is greener on the other side, and there are a lot of good things happening at the same time. So it's just a blessing to keep this train going. And yeah, I want this to be like my life, you know, just I got nothing but wake up, make music. That's the ultimate goal. I don't know. I live by this thing called this is kind of like free sauce or whatever. I live this thing called the Reliance theory. It's something I created as a kid, and basically I don't ever want to take things or do things that I know that my brain will have to rely on me taking or doing in order to gain some sort of satisfaction or gain some sort of you know, like rhythm, or just doing the same thing over and over again, I guess there's a better word for that, but habits, I guess you could say, habits and patterns that we all fall into every day. For me, I've created a life to where I wake up every day and I'm not worried about anything. I got nothing that I'm like fiending for. I got nothing that I'm worried about doing. I just try to, every day's a new day. Every day's a new day to go out and make something great, to go out and be great. And you know, like, this life offers us a lot of bullshit, but if you look at every day as a new day and just, you know, praise God and be thankful every day, like, you can dictate the way your day goes. At least that's the way that I believe it. And it gets hard though, you know, on those hard days where you're waiting for something to happen and you're hoping that something is going to happen. You just got to keep the faith. That's the ultimate way. You just got to keep the faith and remember that, you know, life isn't always bad and life isn't always good. So you're going to have low and you're going to have high. So like, if you keep that in mind every day gets a little better. And that and not giving a fuck what people think about you. That's the other thing. It's not easy, but if you're able to not worry about what people are going to say about you or think, you can just live freely and do what you want. And that's what I try to stand for and live by. It's not easy, and I have my moments, but I like to be that person that just treats every day as a brand new day, and let's see what we can do with today. I like to say, keep an eye on the future, but live by the day. We're in a unique place and time where the world has gotten so fucking weird and so bizarre that, you know, with the new direction of what's going on in politics, even though I'm not a politician, but with the new direction of that, there will be a new focus on certain things. One of them, I think, might be music. I think people are getting a little tired of not being able to understand what someone's saying on a song. I'm not trying to put this together. I shouldn't have put it with politics, but the point being that I think there's shifts going on in this world, and the ironic timing of that. I think that the idea that we can just get by not even saying anything, by just making sounds and calling that like art and calling that like substance, like those are hopefully starting to go away, and we're bringing back like the substance and saying something on a record. It's gotten pretty bad. The past couple years was pretty bad, but you know, I knew deep down that like we just had to wait, and in the meantime I was working on my pen and working on things that you guys are going to hear, and just wait it out, because the way that I like to describe it is, you know, everything has an evolution. No matter if we like it or not, it has to evolve. And so we just experienced that evolution where we went from like, you know, saying something to like the poppy whatever, to then it became you're not even really saying anything, and it's more so the beat is just super loud and bangy, and you're just creating a vibe. I think it has to come back around to where lyrics will be back. So I'm super excited with where it's heading, but that's what I would say where it's at is people are kind of getting tired of what's super mainstream right now. They're really not the no message behind it. They're just making noise, and shout out to those artists. Like, that's cool or whatever. Do your thing. You know, I don't want to say don't do it. I just want to say that I want to hear like a message, and I want to hear lyrics, and so I think that's coming back around. It's about time, you know. It's about time. We need to give people something to listen to, people something to hear and believe in. Don't quit. You know, and that sounds so simple, right? Like, that sounds so cliche, but just don't quit. There are countless examples of people that didn't get to where they wanted to go until they were late 30s, late 40s, whatever. This idea that you're too old to do this or that, or it's not true. It's rooted in past belief, right? It's rooted in people that weren't able to do it themselves. So why don't you change the narrative? Why don't you just go do it, right? Like, don't quit. If you love something, you're not going to quit. You're not going to give up on it. The other thing I would say is something that I believe in, that I wish more people, you know, would come around to, and I think they will. We just need to spread the message. Be yourself. Be yourself no matter what. And you will have a better life than you could ever imagine. Because if you are yourself, your superpower is to be yourself, right? So then you're unique in that sense, and don't want to be somebody else. Don't be like somebody else. Don't act like somebody else. Be you. Be you, and you will shine. You will shine and you will rise in life. It's just natural, because you're someone new to look at. You're someone different. You're your own self. Embrace yourself. Don't be a copycat. This world has way too many people that just follow what others do, and it creates nothing but, you know, like anxiety and just like, I'm not good enough or this or that. Now, if you just embrace who you are, like, your life becomes so much better. I say it that way. That's your superpower, is your ability to be yourself. When I talk about what I do with my family, I'm something so different for them. Like, my cousins have told, I'll never forget the way they told me. They were like, we have no clue what you're doing, we don't understand it at all, but we just wish you the best. Like, I'm like the rapper out of, like, you know, my family and things like that, and the stereotype that comes with it and all that shit. And, you know, like, I want to be able to just be like, well, look, like, I did that. Like, I did come out of my family as a rapper. Like, it's like, you know, like, breaking whatever stereotypes, breaking whatever norms, just another, you know, proof of that. I want to be someone that just, I stood on my own too, and I did what I wanted to do in this life, you know, and I want that to be reflective to people. You know, do what you want to do. I want to be able to be that example. Do what you want to do, no matter what it takes, no matter what you got to go through. You know, so I want to be that example for others, and just be remembered as someone that, you know, like I said, just did what he wanted to do. I like that. Shout out my dad, because he was that person that gave me that ability to be like, okay, like, you want to do that, go for it. You know, like, stereotypically, like, I'm supposed to go to college to the 4-year, and I did that, right? And I would beg my dad behind the scenes, like, oh, Dad, like, maybe I could just drop out. And I realized now, I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I went through all that. I'm glad he pushed me to do that, and so I was able to, you know, go through something and get that degree and be able to tell myself like, yeah, I could do that, like, yeah, I could put in the work and do something. So it's kind of metaphorical for me. I appreciate him making me doing that. I appreciate him letting me know like I can do what I want in this life. And I shout out to my mom too for coming around to that now. My mom actually, you know, it's funny, my mom, when I first started rap, my mom used to tell people I was a Christian rapper because she thought it sounded less bad. And you know, I got a lot of respect for Christian rap, but ain't nothing wrong with that. It's just not my lane. And so I come from that kind of understanding, you know. And then you know, shout out my girl, like, you know, I'm not gonna get her in the frame, but I really appreciate her, and she really helped change my life this past year, so shout out to her. And then I guess lastly would be a shout out to my brother. He's going through a lot. He's 27 now, or he's about to be 27. I'm 30, so close age gap. And just, I want to show him, you know, you can be what you want to be, and he can figure it out. He can get his life right, and he can go be something amazing. And I'm going to be that example for him. So shout out to him too, because I got us, bro. I got us. It's Shooty. Shout out, respect the vibe. I appreciate you for having me. This is a blessed connection, and let's see what happens going forward. It's an amazing interview. Thank you so much. It was a great time, and glad I got to speak on everything. And I guess if need be, follow my IG _SH00TY_. And then I'll be making the YouTube soon. And we'll see what Trump does with this TikTok. But if TikTok stays alive, it'll be coming soon. So, well,